gap here. Now I'm thinking if this thing spins around, catches a finger, then it's going to find this gap. If you don't have that gap there, even if you do extend a little bit further, it's just going to bounce your finger off this armless middle if you're going to go. So try to keep this as close as possible. That's one reason why. Second reason is, I'll show you something. This is a spindle gouge, and not a small spindle gouge. This is kind of a semi-medium spindle gouge. If you have a lot of videos, don't do it. And that's a hard piece of steel.
Also vibrates worse.
Vibrates worse. Unsupported, it's just a bad thing. So this is a very important. It tells you how far to go. It keeps you from messing up and catching your wood if you're not touching it. It's just got all kinds of good uses. But pay attention to this thing at all times. When you're first starting out, you're concentrating on that. Getting that first cut right. Think about it. You got to have it nice and grounded on there. All right. Question?
Yes, right.
You said that the normal spinning toward you.
Yeah.
The wood is spinning toward you. Is there a reason why they don't make it so the normal spinning is spinning away from you?
It wouldn't cut.
Because yeah.
Wow.
So you know how he was doing the thing, and he was turning it kind of.
Finish the back of the tool.
Yeah, he was turning it back towards him. Okay. I'm going to show you real quick here, so you can see it actually driving. I'll get into more detail about this. This is just to show you the. So you want to keep your tool rest right way back here, right?
No. What do you say, like a 1/4 inch? Do you have it?
Yeah, I'll show you why they call it the Arc of Death now.
Oh yeah. Wait till I move.
Okay. Get under the Arc of
Yeah. He got it. I don't use it.
That's reverse.
Are you going to be that close to it?
Yeah. That's what I'm doing over here.
So just to give you the whole effect there. Basically, I'll get into more details about this in a little. But basically, I didn't even have to touch it with my fingers.
How about the height of the tool? I'll let you mention
Yeah, the tool rest is basically at center. But I'll get in more details there. I was just trying to show her why it's important.
Yep.
Reverse.
I got it once John said it.
But from the other side, hell to pay. Yeah, actually, hollowing tool because it's centered. It doesn't matter. You're spinning it the right way, but you can be on that side to work it. Anyway, okay.
Is there ever a lubricant put on the dead center?
On this?
Yeah.
Probably. I didn't read the manual.
No, I meant for with the wood.
On the wood? No.
Where the wood contacts at that point. Like
Here? No. Not that I know of. I've never seen anybody.
Oh, that's right. It's a roller. Right. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a roller.
Yeah.
Harder woods, you go at higher speeds or lower speeds, or?
In general, higher speeds for spindle turning, lower speeds for faceplate turning. By the way, for those that didn't understand the whole faceplate concept, I don't even know if I have one. I don't use this one. That's a faceplate. So basically what I can do is, what I can do with this is I can put this in the back of a big chunk of wood and leave this, although I probably still would. I've only used one of these maybe twice. The second time I used it, I cut the screws with my chisel. So I pushed it.
Actually, you cut your chisel with the screws.
Once you have one of these, it's just not as. I've got a routine where I don't have to use that. But that's when they talk about face plate turning. They're typically talking about bowls or platters or something like that. So the grain's running this way on this guy. The grain's running this way, typically on a bowl. Now you can do whatever you want. Like segmented turning, the grain is going 800 different ways. But typically for a bowl, the grain's running this way. So again, because the grain is running this way, it's a heck of a lot easier to shave that wood off of there. Whereas you're cutting in grain half the time on this guy. So it's a little bit harder. and you run at a lower piece.
Okay.
Basically, it's just a safety kind of thing, just as you're fighting these little edges or on a big rough bowl blank, you're fighting all the edges and things. You want to run at a little bit lower speed. On some of the turnings that I do, I'm actually turning space because it's not symmetrical. Grab that bowl, that very top thing back there. You'll know, well, you want to do that at a lower RPM. Because if you come around, if you jam it in a little bit too far and that piece comes around and, you know, launches a skew at Steve. Yeah, of course. But anyway, so speeds are, you know, there's actually a out on various websites they show you the safe the RPMs of this point is different from if I've got a bowl out here.
Yeah.
It's different from the RPMs out here. There's
Yeah.
some sort of, I don't know, physics or science about that. But anyway,
Same RPM.
so the RP, well, I mean, yeah, but if I'm measuring RPMs here,
It's just, it's
So-
the surface.
It's going faster, it's the same RPM.
yeah, okay, there we go. Whatever it is.
Greater distance.
But basically what they say is if you're measuring, this RPM is 500 at the shaft, you know, then I can make judgments about whether or not I need to slow it down or speed it up based on the how rough the wood is. All right. What else? One other thing about the headstock. Most headstock thingies have a spindle lock, and he said make sure your spindle lock is not engaged. If I'm taking this chuck off, I typically have the spindle lock locked. Okay? Anything else?
How much that whole rig weigh?
This weighs 750 pounds, I believe. I know this weighs enough to
If you're hurting.
hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
This weighs about 150 pounds, just the headstock. This weighs 50. I know that because I have to take it off every time I do a bolt. So this goes over there, and I call my son down to do that. All right?
Earn your keep, kid.
Okay. What this guy will do, this is kind of cool. Because we may actually need this.
Or you can just take it all the way to the end.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
actually
yeah.
So it moves, you know. So if I'm not trying to big something off the end, I can move this all the way to the middle. There's a $300 part to put this on that sits right here. The reason I don't have it is because I don't have $300. Okay. Anyway, I like that. They're, you know, up to 35 inches. Some of them you can get them 42 or whatever. But yeah. All right.
Well,
Okay.
I had a question earlier about
Okay.
elevation, tool elevation, and you said later.
Later, as we, you know, you can
Okay.
go ahead. I mean, what's that? I thought you meant how to set this up for the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, obviously your tools are different height.
Right.
So what's the
Size it is. This should be striking the wood basically in the center, just above center. Okay.
Center of the width of it.
Yeah. So.
Right.
Right. So.
Not the center of the length of it.
Yeah. Just the center.
Yep.
Okay.
above that little point?
Now.
Anything up there at the,
When I'm turning bowls, I will crank this thing way down when I'm doing like shearing cuts and things because the tool is is where you want it for especially like spindle turn. And you know everybody teach their own, but that's typically where we have it.
But you want to cut above center.
Yeah, because your tool is going to be just above center. What's that?
Straight below center?
Scrape below center. Negative rake, I think you can scrape below center. I don't know if you want to do the positive rake below center because then it would pull it. I don't know. Almost drag it down a little bit lower because what you're doing is the burr on the end of that tool is actually, there's like a rake and then the burr is like right on that edge and it's at center but your tool is actually down a little bit. Does that make sense? Anyway, we'll get to some of those details as we go. All right, ready for show and tell, or is there any other questions?
Show and tell.
Okay. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to show you one.